Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Weekly Digest by Fibonacci X. In this episode, which is for week 11, we are going to be discussing the deals from last week, namely late stage deals, growth stage deals, and early stage deals, which have happened. And we'll try to bring some flavor and color to individual companies, deal structures, sectors, and industries, which you may find useful. So let's start. So where do we start today?
So, in the past week, which was week 11, 17 startups raised funding in India. Six of them being in the growth stage, which is from Series B to pre IPO stage, and the remaining 11 deals in the early stage, which is all the funding that happens before Series B. So, let's start with the growth stage startups. The first one is RuskMedia.
RuskMedia is like a digital entertainment company. What they do, they create content, fictional and non-fictional. And in on their website, they have mentioned three types of content. First is called All Right, which is like a feel-good content related to comic series. And second is a Playground, which is a gaming entertainment content. And the third one is food, travel, and fashion. And they promote their content on three different platforms. They present their web series, small web series, short clips, and they promote Indian brands in their content. So it's like if there's is a family and the family values like okay, we will use products which is less processed products. So they promote country delight in that series. So I really like that how they are collaborating with Indian brands and the content they produce. Their audience, majority of their audience is Gen Z.
Wow. Can we collaborate with them? Can they create content for us, like Fibonacci X? How we are supporting founders? That will be interesting. Because Gen Z is actually for theme for us. It could be interesting. We should speak to them and find out what are the possible synergies. But so their main revenue comes from these brands, if I'm correct.
I think it's large, majorly B2B. I think revenues come from brands also by collaborating with them and also the content they produce. People are consuming that content on YouTube, especially, and on Instagram, and the other platform is Facebook. So they are using three platforms.
Sorry. So interesting. I think there's a lot of demand for digital content overall. So let's keep watching them, how they perform, how are the collaborations going for them. What is the next one?
So, the next one is Zolve. So, Zolve is basically a fintech startup which offers immigrants an FDIC insured US bank account and credit card without requiring a social security number. So, what they're trying to
Mm,
build is that they want to create a platform where they're able to empower these immigrants throughout the world with financial tools and support that they need in USA. So they offer checking accounts, credit cards, insurances, and other types of financial instruments.
right. So this is an interesting case, and I can relate to this use case because when you go to the US to get a credit card or a bank account, you need, not for the bank account, at least for the credit card, you need the social security number. And in order to have social security number, you need an offer letter for a part-time or a full-time job, right? Usually part-time in this case, right? As a student, if you're going to the US. So that's a huge challenge because your credit history in your home country was not transferable earlier. But I think Zolve is solving that interesting problem. I think roughly 1 million students, international students, come to the US, and about 150,000 professionals who move to the US for jobs on H-1B visa and other kind of visas. 50% of them, I think 50-60% should be PhDs and other technical professionals. And so it's interesting. And I think they will expand what they are claiming, that they will expand to other countries like Canada, US, Australia, UK in the coming years. They already have 500,000 users, 600 million worth of transactions. And the way they have structured the transaction, that's also interesting, right? They've raised around 250 million roughly, out of which I think 20% is equity, 80% is debt, which gives me the confidence they are optimistic about the future of the company, right? Because otherwise they wouldn't do 80% debt because they need to pay back the interest and the principal. So it's like a typical growth stage, late stage deal that typically you are doing 30% equity, 70% debt because you don't want to dilute too much. The unit economics are already positive and you can always pay back the debt. So that's a lesson for the founders as well. In case you're going for late stage, you can always do blended, like a private equity transaction where you do part equity and large part of the transaction is debt. So that's promising. And I think the valuation also should be around, I think, about a billion, between 800 million and 1 billion is what I'm guessing as per the news stories. What was also promising is that the 12-month retention for their customers is 86% plus, which is a huge positive. Obviously, once you transfer, then once you have the social security number, then you move your account to obviously a US bank like a JP Morgan Chase or Bank of America or PNC or some other bank, right? But it's just that in first 1 year when you are setting up things, you need that extra help from a fintech company or a neo bank, which can bring your credit history. So interesting, and it's a you know the founder already sold Taxi for Sure to Ola for 200 million. So it's a second time founder. Already had kind of a liquidity or a success story where they sold company. So interesting. I think there should be more players. There are already, I think, few players in UK also trying this. I don't remember the names right now, but multiple players have attempted on this problem where how can you bring the cross-border transactions, how can you make them more convenient? And they have picked a very niche area, which is international students and professionals. There are other kind of transactions which you can do, right? Earlier, most of the transactions were through credit cards or Forex cards. I think they will sort of become extinct as these cross-border transactions become convenient, right? There are already players like Revolut who are doing great things in cross-border transactions. So good. I think I like their traction. I like the way they are building the business. I like the way they have structured the round. Very mature. They're not diluting too much. I think they're very optimistic about the future of the company, and I am also optimistic. So let's see.
So let's move on to the third startup in the growth stage fundraising. So the third startup is called Droom. So Droom is an online marketplace for buying and selling of vehicles, which includes cars, motorcycles, and electric vehicles. And they also offer renting those vehicles, insuring, and loans needed for purchasing these vehicles. So they have raised about 25 crores from Finvolve, IA Growth Opportunity Fund, and Ramesh Chandra Shah. So one thing which I found interesting for Droom was that their valuation in the current round was around 3,000 crores. But in the previous round where they raised money, they had a valuation of 8,000 crores. This might be a problem, like there might be a reason that they generated a revenue of 85 crores this year, which showed a decline of 66% in comparison to the revenue that they generated in the previous year, which was around 250 crores.
Yeah, yeah. But they have cut down their losses, so not sure. I think I have like 2 or 3 points to make. I think they are registered in Singapore. They have an Indian subsidiary. It makes it complex in terms of the structure, right? And they're planning to go for IPO in 2027. So this is their effort to revive that IPO plan. Um, so I think they may have to like reverse flip, right, which will generate tax liabilities for them. Uh, we have several companies reverse flipping from Singapore to India over last, 24 months, typically before IPO. So they will need to raise significant money to take care of those merging tax liabilities, so to speak, because they're a loss-making company, and I don't think they have that much cash on the balance sheet, so they won't be able to pay for those. That's one. Not sure. They're still planning to do IPO at roughly 1.2 to 1.5 billion. That's roughly 8,000 to 12,000 crores Indian rupees. Um, Looks tough. Let's see if they can turn around. But overall, I think if you look from Middle India perspective, this buying and selling of used motorcycles, cars, I think this market will grow further. Car ownership in India is still very low comparison to, let's say, developed countries where it's 400, 500 people per thousand people. Here, it may be roughly 10 to 20 people per thousand people, or even lower in smaller cities. So I think as we grow to like a middle income country overall over next 10, 15 years, I think used car market will be there. That market will remain relevant. Uh, we already have Cars 24, Spinny. So the case studies are there, right? So there may be some. So it's if the offerings are not differentiated, then consolidation is on the cards as simple as possible. So they may also get acquired by one of these large players. Let's see.
So that's all for the growth stage startups. Now let's move on to the early stage startup. So the first startup that we'll be talking about is GhostOps. So GhostOps is a brand which offers affordable and modern accommodations through hostels pan India. So they are currently present in 29 locations where they have, I think so, 35 hostels. And what they offer is that they offer hostel rooms which are shared between 8 people, 6 people, 4 people, and they also have private.
Hmm. So I think this one is also relevant for us because it's hostels for Gen Z again. Uh, for us, I think when we think about Young India theme, there are 3 or 4 areas which are interesting to us. So there is fast fashion, travel, accessories, electronic gadgets. So these are few areas which we are always looking at and tracking how the patterns are changing. Um, Also, by the way, we have been spending time on travel as a team, also just refining our hypothesis, working with a couple of founders. So Vatsal, why don't you share something which you may have looked at in terms of Gen Z travel trends? What has changed over the last few years, or what numbers, what data have you looked at, which is interesting? And then we come back to ghost stops later.
So I had spoken to one of the brands, which is a direct competitor of GhostOps. And these are some of the insights that they had shared with me. So they shared that 90% of their customers are millennials, and millennials usually come to hostels for a duration of 2 to 3 days. And there is a very small percentage of people who go for vacation, or they come for a vacation looking out for cultural activities, adventure activities in these hostels, and these brands are still trying to expand their horizons just from the accommodation point of view. As for what these people are looking for, so from their customer point of view, around 15 to 20% people stay for a week, and a very small percentage, which is 5 to 7% of them, prefer to stay for more than 10 days or 15 days. And as we've also spoken with many founders in the travel and tourism space, so what they shared was that the age from 25 to the age of 42, that is the group which travels the most in India. And that is the age group which also includes solo travelers and group travelers who come for these hostels, looking out for affordable accommodation.
Okay. This was for millennials. For what about Gen Z?
So Gen Z are like the major clientele for hostels is not Gen Z, like as they are able to see. But I think in the coming years, when Gen Z starts to earn more, or they enter the age where they are earning, so maybe they will be entering into the hostel accommodations. Because prior to this, it's their parents or their guardians who are taking them on those trips.
Hmm. And what's the future outlook? Okay. And I think activities bit is also big with this segment only, right? The same age group.
Yes,
Because I think beyond 40, I think people may not have interest in doing outdoors activity. Hmm.
right.
Anyways,
So
yeah.
he
Thanks.
also
Thanks for
shared with
sharing.
me that the people who come for these hostels, the people who are coming for these hostels are looking out for activities that they can do. So they are actively looking out for partnerships who can help them provide these activities to their customers.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, about good stuff. So currently they have 30 hostels and they want to expand to 100 hostels. They have about 2,500 beds. They want to go to 10,000 beds. Any idea what is the location of their current hostels, like which cities, which destinations they are present in currently?
So they are present in like in Goa. So they have hostels in Goa, Masuri, Rishikesh, Varanasi, and in Delhi and Gurgaon they also have hostels. So one of my friends also used their hostel in Rishikesh.
And
So
what was
they
his experience?
his experience was very good, and there are two options when you are taking a hostel. So there in one there's only room service and other amenities, and the second one is plus breakfast. You can have food also. So there are different prices for each room.
What is the typical range for their pricing?
So their average ticket size, regardless of the area that they are present in, is usually from 300, and it goes as high as 3,000 rupees for a private room, which is for two people.
Okay.
So their current revenue in 23-24 was around 30 crores.
Hmm.
So the next startup in the early stage is Yenmo. So Yenmo is a fintech startup which offers instant loans against mutual fund investments. So what it actually does is that it offers liquidity to the users without actually making those users liquidate their assets. They have raised around 9 crores from Y Combinator. They were part of the cohort that Y Combinator had. And they plan to use these funds to introduce new lending products like loan against stocks and other financial instruments.
Yeah, I think this is there are many players who are doing the same thing in the market. So I don't find anything interesting about this at this moment. My only input is that this is again a balance sheet business. So unless founders have that capability to run it and they come from the financial world, it's difficult to scale, right? Uh, Other than that, nothing new. Yeah. So let's move to the next one. What's the next one?
So the next startup is called Ambitio. So Ambitio is a platform which offers personalized admission experience by gathering insights from past applicants and alumni. So what they do is they take the reviews from those alumni and helps the current applicants to on a one-to-one guidance session where they're able to help them on the procedure that is there for applying in in a university or a college. What they do is they use AI to shortlist colleges based on your profile, your goals, and the preferences that you have. They also guide you on the scholarships and the loans which you can take for the college that you want to apply. Along with this, they also offer one-on-one guidance sessions with the past applicants and the alumni who have graduated from these colleges.
Got it, got it. So isn't that same TG as Zolve is serving, more or less, students going abroad? Ambitio is serving a similar TG. So that's a correlation which I can see. Second is thing, this may also signal overall edtech funding has sort of been on the up comparison to 2023. Roughly, I think around 600 million. We can probably showcase in this episode or next episode about the real tracker, how many deals have been done in edtech. Um, so isn't it like a AI co-pilot where it's just helping you on the whole journey? You just prioritize which universities you want to target. They help you in the whole application process, whatever you need to do, right? Second is, I think they will also face competition from, let's say, Leverage Edu, Leap, other companies which are operating in the similar space. So that could be interesting. Um, so Ambitio, are they also doing student financing yet, or they're only doing this application thing?
So they're only doing this right now. They have not gone into student.
Okay. Because I think Leap Finance has just started doing that. They just secured, I think, 100 million loans in loans to start doing and financing some of the students. Um, could be interesting. But yeah, so I think the takeaway for me is the overall edtech funding scene seems to be looking up. If I look back comparison to 2024 and 2023, this seems to be on the up. And I think the use case for Ambitio is there. Like I said, about 500,000 students go from India to US every year. And these kind of co-pilots can be handy while students are applying to universities, prioritizing, thinking about deadlines, etc. So thank you for joining us. Like I said, young consumers, emerging consumers are two relevant themes for us. If you are building something around those themes, you can read our thesis. I think we will add the thesis link in our description, and then you can share your pitch with us. We will also share the link through which you can submit your pitch to us in the description. And then otherwise, thank you for joining us, and then we'll see you next week. Thank you.